Hello. So this is Rasheem of the Counter Narrative. Tonight we are doing a review of Dear White People, the Netflix show. And I will be joined, I say we, because I'm going to be joined by Vicky J momentarily. And again, this is the Counter Narrative. Tonight we'll be reviewing Dear White People, the Netflix show, not the movie, the show. So right now I am just setting some things up. If you have seen the show and you want to give your insight, please feel free to, make put a comment. If you haven't seen it and you want to ask a question, feel free to also do that. We like comments, we like questions, we like engagement, just engagement in general. Ask a question. All right, so I'm hearing myself. There we go. So there's a comment section, and that should be over to your, let's see, this will be the screen right here. So to be over here, kind of like to that area, like over here and then down a little bit is where you would be able to click on that and get a review. If you are new, Counter Narrative watcher, then feel free to go ahead and subscribe. You know, the little red subscribe button that's there. And what that'll be able to allow you to do, of course, is one, stay connected, also be notified as soon as we go live with any of our content. And also, if you ever want to set a reminder for when we go live, you could click that to set the reminder, and it will let you know when we are on and popping, right? Because you want to be on when we are on and popping. So let me go ahead and give you a little bit more of a background on this series. It is pretty new to Netflix, even though the movie is not new. I think the movie came out a few years ago. And so the general feel of this movie, and I feel like Vicky J would probably say the same thing, but if you watch the Dear White People series, it feels like a combination of A Different World and School Days, Spike Lee's School Days. And here's some of the reasons why. One of the ways in which it definitely feels a lot like A Different World is because instead of having these tropes of what Blackness is, it actually has these just different expressions of Black people. And it's not, hyper characterized, right? The dialogue is very real. All of these students, whether you have the quote unquote nerdy group or the conservative group, in this particular movie, there's a conservative group of Black people. There's the conscious down for the cause Black people. There's one group that is referred to as like the hashtag group. But you have all of these students on college campuses representing their own real experiences. And one of the beautiful things about this is it highlights how the Black experience is not just one experience. Also, not even the Black college experience is not even one experience, but it highlights all of these different experiences and how all of these people are going through a similar lived experience in that they are experiencing the same school, having some of the same challenges, but how they address them, how they interact with them, and their response to them is different because they're different people with still other intersecting different backgrounds. This show also deals a bit with interracial dating, not in a very, and not in like a superficial surface way. The main character is very conscious or woke and down for the cause, and she has what one of her friends refers to as a white bae. And her white bae, she keeps him secret for a while from her friends. because he's white and because she's quote unquote so conscious. Now, one of the things that comes up in her love for her white bae is 24 hours a day. She is down for the cause. She is handing out flyers. She organizes. She does a lot for her school community. She also does a lot for her college community and just like Black communities and communities of color in general. But when she's with her white bae, she gets to just be a woman. She just gets to be a human being. She just gets to be whoever she is. And that's something that she values. So there's this other young man, Reggie, who has been a comrade with her for a long time. And you get to see how their relationship sort of comes up and unfolds. And I keep referring back to the movie as with the descriptor of this series is everything that the movie wasn't but could have been, because I feel like the movie spent so much time being super satirical and just trying to be funny that it ended up overshadowing a lot of the conscious, intellectual, racial diversity challenges that were going on. So it didn't even really have time to kind of like go deep into these issues. But each one of these people have a voice, they have a background, they have a history, and that history is acknowledged in this space. And that's one of the things that kind of stands out for me in this particular movie. And I know that when Vicky J comes on, she's probably going to share even more of like what are some of her takeaways and her experiences with this movie. So if you are here right now, feel free to write a comment or a question that you have about the movie. Another thing that I really like about Dear White People is the ways in which it deals with I guess you could say like guilty pleasures of the quote unquote conscious. Oops, sorry about that. One of those ways is it has a take on the show Scandal. And so one of the things that all of these college students get together and they do kind of like weekly is they sit down and watch this show. It's not called Scandal. I think in the Netflix series Dear White People, this show is called Defamation. But you still have the same dynamic. You have this government official, I think he's a president, you have this government official having an affair with this Black woman, and everyone is like sitting around and watching it. So they deal a bit with popular culture that's woven into it. So you see that. You also see images related to and connected to Black Lives Matter, external, cursory, or not just indirectly, but also directly, with some of the main characters coming in contact with police officers who at the time may either be misrecognizing them or seeing them as a threat, where they obviously are not. Like there's one main character who has a gun pulled on him by a police officer while he's in an altercation with a white young man in a crowded room full of people. It looks like
I'm so sorry. I was stuck in full screen and I could not go back to the taskbar. And I was like, what is happening?
No, so I was just giving the people background information on the show, but you were really getting into some of your thoughts and feelings on the show. So yeah.
Well, I was talking about like the subconscious process that goes into like the guilt, like white guilt, which is what it's called. I mean, Tumblr calls it white guilt. And
Wait, before you get into that, go back to that scene, because we did talk about it in our other video of it, but just if you could go back to that scene with Reggie
and his friend.
Yeah, because you're right, it's a very pivotal point in the series.
Yeah, so it's like, I think it's episode 5, I want to say. It's either 4 or 5. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one, but it's the one where the introduction has the focus on Reggie. Nope, I'm lying. It's the one with the focus on I think it's the white guy's turn. The
Hmm.
lead character's boyfriend. I think
Oh,
that's his episode.
okay.
I think. Okay, so they're at this party at us on campus, and a hip hop song comes on. So it's, they're all like, everybody's kind of just mixing and mingling, all the different groups on campus, because there's like Black Student Union, there's the, the I don't know, the faux Black Panther Party or whatever, like, all these different groups, the like Asian Alliance and stuff. And so together for this party. And a rap song comes on with the N-word in it. And the guy who invited him, the white guy, is just singing along to the lyrics. And Reggie's like, oh man, don't say that. Like, just real casual like that. And he's like, well, why not? It's in the song. And he's like, no, it makes you uncomfortable, man. And it was that simple, right? But it turns into, I don't like, I'm not racist. Like, I'm just following along with the lyrics. Like, here we go, right? And he's like, I mean, yeah, but I'm not saying it. Why are you saying it? Like, like, don't say it. He's kind of, visibly getting frustrated because he's like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Just don't say it. And then he's like, so what, you think I'm racist now? And it's like, he just keeps like kind of handing this like guilt trip out and making it seem like Reggie's saying more than what he's saying. Reggie is very simply just saying, don't say that word. But his white friend is internalizing this because he's totally liberal, and he's friends with Reggie, and he invited these Black folks to his house, and it's just like, what do you mean I can't say the N-word now? Like, what? Like, all of a sudden it's a thing, and like it turns into, said don't say it. Like, he just like, I'm sorry if I can't swear on the show, but they do swear on the show. And so he's like, what do you mean? Why can't you say? Why do you want to say it so bad? And like, so it just becomes this thing, like just huge fight. Like, they're actually like putting hands on each other after a while because other people get into it and like egg it on, and like he's, he just turns into a complete. And it was very much like, kind of like his true colors were coming out in a way, because he was like, I mean, I invited you guys to this party and I did like, this is my house. And like, all of a sudden he's like, for me, from my perspective, he was like kind of spiraling out of control, but trying to maintain control. Like, I'm in a position of dominance and power. I should be able to do and say whatever I want. And you, as my token Black friend, should just be quiet and let me do what I want. That's the vibe that I got from the conversation, from his exchange with him, because he was really kind of gaslighting him and making it seem like it was his problem and it was his, he was making a big deal out of everything. It was his fault and blah, blah, blah. When really all he asked him to do was respect his comfort level and not say that word around him because it offended him. Mm-hmm. Now, if this is your friend, somebody, and y'all are cool to the point where you respect this person and whatever, why would you argue with them about something that affects them on a racially specific level in that manner, unless you had a sense of entitlement that was clearly subconscious but rooted in your whiteness?
Mm-hmm. Well, go
ahead.
And I feel like that's one of the things that I really appreciated about this show, because it didn't show things as like black and white. It just like it's either this or that, because that situation is obviously complicated, because this person isn't a member of the Klan, right? This person isn't a racist. This person is obviously someone's friend, and they get along and they like each other and all of this. And then Reggie is saying, this word, when you say it, makes me feel uncomfortable, was not enough. Like Vicky J, if you told me, let's say if I wanted to call you VJ, and you said, you know what, when you say VJ, that really makes me feel uncomfortable. There is nothing else there. If you are my friend, there's nothing else there in that conversation. But the one,
and I haven't called you a terrible person. I
right.
haven't said that you are, anything at all. I've just said that calling me that, I'm not cool with it.
Right. Now
And so, yeah, like you said, it should just end there.
right. Now the one thing that I think that another person would probably argue is that the I don't know. I'm just gonna say Billy. I don't remember the guy's name who was saying this at where Reggie was at this party, but could say, well, he wasn't saying it to him. He was saying it in a song that was playing that his friend was also dancing to and moving to, right? So then that conversation around that is what oh, this is just some of the arguments that I'm sure will come up. What about freedom of speech? Why can't I express myself? Where does your rights end and my rights begin? That was just like one of the I feel like that was just one of those
I think
things
come up during the show. Like even in that exchange that it came up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's just like one of those scenes that just like demonstrated the complicatedness of race, and it also demonstrated where allyship, the boundaries of allyship, the boundaries of friendship. You know, what type of friends are we really, and how that shows up.
Freedom of speech came up a lot during the show, but I think that, the reason that it came up a lot is because it comes up a lot in real life, in especially in the social media sphere, in the internet world. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that freedom of speech has absolutely nothing to do with person-to-person interaction, at least not in the Bill of Rights. Like it really is about freedom to speak against the government without repercussion. Yeah. As long as it doesn't incite riot or like cause harm or something like that, then you should be able to say and do as you like. But it doesn't really have anything to do with being able to spout racial slurs around your friends who it affects and being able to get away with it. Like that's not actually how it works. And I think that a lot of people just really are ignorant to that.
Yeah.
So I really wouldn't consider it an argument, more so just a kind of like another way of excusing it for that individual.
Right.
So why can't I be free to say this offensive thing without repercussion? Like, what do you even mean? Like you said, where does my comfort end and yours begin, or vice versa? Right. Like, I mean, at your level of respect for me, I would say, right? Like, be mildly inconvenienced by not being able to say a racial slur because I'm your friend.
So what I want to do for people who may or may not have seen that part, I found it, it's like 2 minutes where I just want to show this part that we're talking about. So I'm going to share my screen and show it really quick. I'll go ahead and share my entire screen. I've got too much juicy stuff on there.
Can you do this and then post it to YouTube without getting yanked?
I think so. Uh-oh. Let's see.
When did the French Revolution?
1789.
Correct!
What is osmosis? Ace of spades. Lake Titicaca. Hyperhidrosis. When I read episode 105, I cried, and then I cried every time after that, thinking about certain scenes.
Can nobody just have fun anymore?
This is what happens, man. This is not my fault. You and your friends show up places to fight. Hey! Reggie is all about the movement, and he is sort of relentlessly trying to figure out a way to get people on campus to be involved and to care about the issues without coming across as like, an angry black guy, which, by the way, he has every right to be. I'm gonna need to see your ID. Oh, you need to see my ID?
Son, I said ID.
I'm not your son.
Reggie, do what he says.
I said show me some ID!
No, he doesn't do it!
Show me some ID!
You realize like how real the show is in that moment. It was insane to think that this could happen at any point in time in any of these kids' lives.
I remember when Philando Castile was killed, we came into show the next day and everybody was just devastated. I mean, it was like, damn, the 10th shooting of an unarmed black man. We were literally sick over it. We had to incorporate that feeling into the show.
I was glad Marquis took so much weight on his shoulders just get really emotional, you know, on the entire spectrum, angry, sad. You're trying to figure out why you have so many questions, but I think it's good that we tackled it. There was fear.
Okay, so I just want to show that snippet. I don't want to show too much before Netflix be like,
You thought. No.
right. Netflix be like,
Yeah, it was definitely like it led up to that moment where the cop is like, show me some ID, and pulls out a gun on him. It's like, why do you need to do that? Seriously? If it were any of the, if it were his friend, the white guy whose house it was, who said this is my house and he didn't have to prove it to the cop, like, of the white kids who said, no, I don't need to show you my ID. Of course I go here. I'm at the freaking party, dude. What's your problem? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't have happened that way.
Why do you think the white guy in Reggie saying don't say that, just don't say that word? Why do you think Reggie's white friend his response was, I'm not racist?
Because there's a lot of guilt behind that word, in that it's obviously associated with, first of all, white people kind of coined that term to describe, and I think a lot of young people kind of forget that because it's in the music, and it's just, you know, they say it all the time, and it's just, you know, they're at this point it's colloquial, and it refers to friends, and, you know, this is my homie and whatever. But neglect, like, I think even if they don't admit it, subconsciously, you know what the historical context is of that word. Like, obviously you do, right? Because the majority of the people saying it without repercussion happen to be brown. Right? So to you, somebody who in this case, his friend is a very obviously a social justice warrior. He's an activist. He's about, you know, bringing attention to the issues that affect Black people. When he says to his friend, his first thought process is, you know, I'm not racist. I'm not saying it because I'm racist. I think that for a lot of white people, that's their instant reaction because of the climate of our society, and because oppression. Like, it's rooted in oppression, and the oppression is generally exacted by people who look like them.
So he like, I mean, because it was obviously that he felt like he needed to be he needed to defend himself. Like he was being particularly defensive around saying like, well, like, why can't I say this? I'm not, you know, I'm not that. So before we get even deeper into Reggie, because I do want to like have some commentary on each character, and I like that we started off with Reggie because I feel like that was a really pivotal key point. I want to go now and talk a little bit about what is the main blah 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 blah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting.
Her name is a really simple name.
Oh, is it Alex?
Sam.
No. Is her name
Sam.
Alex? Sam.
Her name is Sam.
I knew it was like a unit.
It was a really simple name, yeah.
Right. So with Sam and her relationship with her white bae.
Gabe.
Gabe.
I saw his name on the preview that we were watching. I was like, that's him.
White bae, aka Gabe. That was complicated because she definitely loved him. Like I really feel like she like, you know, like really, really loved him. She also loved the cause, and for whatever reason, there's this I think she felt a conflict between being so down for the cause, you know, like a homeboy told me one day, he was like, Rasheem, you're not just Black, you're not just regular Black, you like black. So I think with Sam,
Black said you black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all.
So I think with her being black, she felt like that conflicted with and not allowed her to love someone of a different race, not even just of a different race, but specifically a white person, and even seeing her deal with and balance and navigate and come to an understanding of, I appreciate and love, like, the collective self versus the individual self. Like, I feel like everything she did in terms of for her campus community, for communities of color, for marginalized communities, and just being down for the cause, that was something that was about group efficacy and the collective self. And I felt like Gabe was someone that was for her, that was like, and I feel like in some ways that is part of the reason why she wanted to keep him like to herself. I mean, I'm sure she did want to hide him, but I also felt like there was a sense of her that just was like, this person, this relationship serves my soul. It serves my heart. It serves.
It was an escape from everything else she was dealing with.
It was an escape. It was an escape.
But she also understood how it looked.
Right.
To keep him a secret, and how it looked for him, how it made him feel.
Right.
I could relate because before my husband, right here, the one that I'm, my husband, before him, I was engaged to a white man.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was flavored white, but like he was swarthy. No, but I'm kidding. He was Arab, but he identified as white. And I thought that we had this like commonality of understanding what it's like to be sort of prejudged and demonized and whatever. But he did identify as white. And he does live in a more homogenous space than I do, or came from a more homogenous space than I do. Came from a very diverse space, but a country that is, not exactly on my side most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so he came from a place where he was exalted as like top of the food chain, Mm-hmm. And so he had this air of white privilege about him. Mm-hmm. So he really couldn't relate to my struggle the way I thought that he could. Mm-hmm. And that became apparent when the Black Lives Matter movement kicked in and people, started dying left and right. And he's talking like these fools on CNN. Mm-hmm. We used to play big fights about it.
Yeah.
Coupled with the cultural aspect of, him being the man and that sort of, mm-hmm. cultural misogyny. And so, he had the wrong one on a couple of different levels, and that's why we ended up together. But but really that whole moment was like, his mother didn't approve of the fact that he was engaged to me because I'm Black, and that meant that I definitely didn't want her to be a part of our kids' lives if we were going to have children. Mm. Because a part of her was going to treat them unfairly. And that if this is the person who raised you, you are definitely harboring some anti-Blackness, even like whether you want to or not. And so, he definitely tried to tell me that wasn't the case and prove that wasn't the case. But the more that he talked, the more it was like I was the exception. Mm-hmm. And that he definitely had anti-Black views. Just he happened to be in love with this Black woman, and this Black woman's a good Black woman, mm-hmm. not like those other Black people. And I can't accept that because I have a whole diverse family. I have a whole connection to my Blackness that is strong as heck. Black to black, and I'm back in the back. Like I'm that chick. Yeah. And who is going to, going to meet me there, going to fight with me on that front, and not be like
at the very least
the counter to it.
At the very least, I felt like Gabe was trying to be down. Like Gabe knew about all of her activist work. He also could tell that he was hiding him from her friends. Mm-hmm. He was willing to go to the protest thing. I think he felt guilty about calling the police on Reggie to mm-hmm. some degree.
He thought he could hang. he thought that he was capable of dealing with that. Like a lot of, I think he represented for me a lot of young white liberals.
Yeah. Right.
Who think that they can do this, think that they get it, they want to be on the side of right, et cetera, et cetera. But just like in the end, you come to your own realizations. I won't give it, like I'm trying really hard not to give it away.
I mean, we already talked, I mean, give it away. Because here's the thing. I think that that we can combat and approach the things that we could be real about, that we could be on Front Street about, that we are aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some blind spots.
Yeah.
And Gabe, as down as he was, as much as he was ready to protest and did, you know, all of these things, and with the super conscious Black woman, he didn't understand the implications of calling the police. He didn't understand or see or foresee that him being Reggie getting a gun pulled on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and Reggie could have died that day.
Right. That is a possible consequence.
Yep.
So so those are things. I mean, like these are the aspects of the show that I really appreciate, because it deals with all of these complicated things. Like, nobody was a single layer character. Everybody had dimensions and depth, and they were complicated, and they were messy, and they were real.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I really like.
And I think they did speak on why he felt like that was the right thing to do, or why he felt like things would get better if the police arrived.
Oh.
And I think that, you know, obviously for most white people, the cops are allies, right? Like they come in and they take care of what they got to take care of, do their job or whatever, and they feel protected and they feel safe, and they, you know, whatever. For Black people, it is the complete opposite. For most Black people, I wouldn't say every type of brown person necessarily, because there's certain you know, stereotypes and expectations amongst certain ethnic groups, but I would say a strong handful of us brown folk can tell you that the police are not that's not necessarily the go-to. You know what I mean? Like, we can't guarantee that officer or officers are going to hear us out, or, you know, give us the benefit of the doubt. Like, we really can't be sure.
Yeah, and see, I'll tell you, one of the things that the problem with that is because there are times where we are in real dangers.
Yeah.
Especially in domestic situations.
Mm-hmm.
Where Black women may refuse to call the police on their abusive husband, because that police officer, like, I want you gone, I want you out the house, but I don't want you dead.
Yeah.
You know? So that ends up being a real problem when anybody feel like they don't have authority that will just come and handle a situation like a situation. I did a show last week around Black women and mental wellness. And the guest that I had on mentioned if someone was particularly mentally unwell, she gave a number. But then she said, you know, if you don't remember that number and you have someone in your house and they're mentally unwell, call 911. Now, see, that scared me. Because because police officers are not known for their social work skills. No, they're not known for their ability.
They're actually known for killing a lot of mentally ill people.
And not even, and they're not known for being able to recognize mental illness for it being a mental illness. It's just, this person is acting crazy. I told them to sit down, they didn't sit down. I told them to put their hands up, they didn't put their hands up. It's like when you hammer, everything looks like a nail. Mm-hmm. And so those are some of the things, like, you know, those are some of the things that can get complicated when I need to feel safe, and maybe I need to feel safe from someone in my own community. Like, who could I call then? Because why I might be scared, or I want this person gone, I don't want this person keying up my car, or this person might have stole from me, but I don't want them dead.
Right.
So it's a real thing.
Yeah, there's a long way to go in this. Like, I think there just needs to be different levels to. I think there needs to be different levels to law enforcement when it comes to dealing with the public.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there should be somebody else to call in between the, a psychologist or, something in between a psychologist and a police officer. There needs to be something in between there.
Yeah.
Because you can't have these people who are fresh, like just got their GED and went to like 2 months of police academy training, dealing with people who, dealing with people who have mental illness. It's just not
right.
Because they have never been in that situation before. It's not fair to them. It's also not fair to this person who is mentally ill and does not see the world the way that you do.
Right.
It's just a recipe for disaster. But yeah, we got a little bit of a tangent, but in bringing it back to the movie and the relationship that Black and white people have with and people of color and white people have with the police being totally different. It has as much to do with race as it does with class as well. But we did see later on in the show that class doesn't always save you when it comes to race.
Right, because the president of the institution, because just for people who haven't seen this, it's based in an Ivy League school. The school is supposed to be
Ivy League PWI,
right?
Predominantly
white institution. And the president of this school is a Black man, and this Black man has a son who, follows all the rules of the politics of respectability. That his father, strongly enforces. So let me just do a quick reset. This is the Counter Narrative Show, and tonight we are talking about Dear White People, the Netflix series, not the movie. So let's get into Class. And so his name is Troy Fairbanks. That's the name of the son.
Yeah, and his father's basically grooming him to take his place one day, or to enter politics. I think it was to enter real life politics.
So let's talk about Troy in terms of race and class. One of the things that I felt with his character is that his way of being was really more along the lines of really just wanting his father's approval more than anything. Mm-hmm. I liked his character because he was not only fine, and had not okay. So he was fine. He had wealth. He was very popular, and he wasn't a hyper masculine, the typical hyper masculine Black male that has an issue with homosexuality. Right? Because he has this gay roommate that he knows is gay, that he's just like, all right, dude. And I also like that Reggie was a conscious, down for the cause brother who wasn't hyper masculine, didn't have an issue with homosexuality. You know what I mean?
I noticed that most of the students didn't, and I think that spoke to this generation that they were speaking to.
Yeah. And I like that it wasn't. I like that it's like we were actually about to start talking about a different character. I like that it wasn't a big deal. And I also like that character was able to explore, what is his name? It's not Rashid.
You're talking about the journalist, right?
Yeah. So there's a Black young man who's a journalist. He's the one who, in the actual movie, has an afro, and he is basically like the culture curator in a lot of ways, because he's sometimes in places where people don't see him. He's documenting stuff. He's also, writing stuff down, researching and everything. Like he is definitely the cultural anthropologist in this show, and he's exploring his sexuality. He's not so sure whether or not he's gay. It's kind of like, okay, maybe I am gay. And he has this huge crush on the heartthrob of the campus. This heartthrob of the campus is going for class president, probably most likely to succeed, super handsome, a jock, and gets the ladies. but is also under the thumb and control of his father, who wants to portray a particular image. So that dynamic, I think, is interesting. I do love, though, by how at the end of, which was totally unexpected, at the end of the series, how his boss was like, yo.
You know what? Low key, I felt like he was going to go there. I did, because he kept trying to get him to break out of his shell. It was a very subtle flirtatious move, but it is a move that I have seen happen. And I certainly don't want to offend anybody, but I do see this move happen a lot with gay professionals, in that they can't overtly flirt, but they do it in this like kind of covert way. And I said to my husband, I was like, he's gonna try to get him. Like I said it like 4 episodes before it happened.
I so did not see that coming.
And I just, as soon as he started to like puff himself up and like, you know, talk back to his boss, I knew his boss was turned on.
Now when I go back and see it and I think about it, like, I bet you're right. You know what I mean? Like, I
want you to just say the F word one time. Like when he did him like that, it was almost like he was like, that would totally like poke my jeans out if you just one time.
It would totally poke your jeans. Oh my God.
That would totally make my jeans.
That's the thing. Like, I love all of these different Black people, like all of these different types of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was really cool, refreshing.
Right. You didn't have all of these same type of guy. You didn't have I didn't see anybody being homophobic about anything.
No. Even just bringing it back to Rasheem, was it? What's his name? Reggie. Sorry, Reggie. How he dealt with the police brutality. How he coped with it.
What about that line? There was 2 things that he said that I was like, damn, I feel you. Where he said, my pain is not your platform. Mm-hmm. That moved me, because Sam kept like, we need to do this about it. We need to do this. We need to do that. And he's like, listen, my pain is not your platform. And he also said, today I don't want to be a movement. Today I just want to be a man. Mm-hmm. You know? And I felt like both of those were real and layered.
On self-care.
Right. I mean,
on self-care for real.
When you are, you know, fighting a good fight, when you're trying to protest and you're trying to get things passed and sign petitions and you're seeing injustices and you're down with this nonprofit organization and you're trying to make a difference in your community. Mm-hmm. The same way in which Reggie was saying, today I don't want to be a movement. I just want to be a man. I think that is what gave her white bae was for her. It allowed her some days to not be a movement. I'm shaking the thing. Must have really meant that.
That was a word.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, that is definitely real. You need a break from the racial fatigue. It hits you.
Yeah.
For us, the reason why the Woke Squad is on a hiatus, we hit racial fatigue coming in every week, having to read about this stuff, you know? Mm-hmm. We had the good stuff in there to be a buffer. We had the trash pop culture stuff, and then we had like the Black excellence and like all this stuff. But in the midst of all that, when we get into the big meat of the show, it was just heavy. Mm-hmm. You know, it was heavy. It was like, you know, I'm tired of being shocked every week. Like, I need a mental break from this. And that's why we had to like hit this hiatus. So there are, especially when you've been through like something traumatic directly, like Reggie did. Like he needed some time to process what he just went through, to sort of give himself some therapy or an outlet. And that was his poetry, which was really great. Mm-hmm. And I loved that he was, you know, he was a Black man who was allowing himself to be like vulnerable and emotionally whole. Mm-hmm. And like that was like a proud moment for me. Like I was really glad that they demonstrated that instead of him just being angry about it and wanting to fuck some shit up. You know, like you know, I just want to process this, allow myself a moment to cry about the fact that I almost died.
Yes.
You know, I just had a gun pointed at my chest.
Right.
And nobody could really help me, because even when a Black woman tried to speak up for him, she was immediately shot down.
Yeah.
By the cop. Not literally, but like, you know, just
yeah, you gotta
verbally shot down.
Right. No,
I can't even. I only imagine what that is like. And you didn't want your friend to say the N-word. Like it just, you know what I mean? Like when you go back to it, it's like you couldn't just shut up when I asked you the first time.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, and I think that guy felt like why do I have to censor? Like he probably felt like I don't want to have to censor myself. It's a song. I should have the same right to say all of the words of a song that anybody would have to say. And in general, I think that he does. But like you said before, I am your friend personally, and I'm telling you that when like at the very least, look, when you go home, you're going, you know, say it 1,500 times
in privacy of your home.
But there are
or
things
when
that
nobody is there.
If you ask me as your friend not to say a thing, you know, because and it's a racially charged word, you just don't say that thing. Now,
and that at the core is really like when you're dealing with cross-cultural or cross-racial relationships, friendships, whatever, that's something that you really have to keep in mind if you really consider yourself to be this like woke, decent, liberal, or even just a matter of like mutual respect as a human being. Yeah. We aren't exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that like when people say that, it really kind of bothers me, because we are all humans in that like we share this, like we're the same species, but in this social construct we have created over millennia, you have to take into regard the connection that people have to that sort of thing, to what is uniquely theirs. And that is layered. And I think that people get really like lazy, like emotionally and mentally lazy when it comes to that kind of stuff. And they just want to sweep it under the rug by saying we're all one, we're all the same, colorblind, blah, blah, blah. But you know, your friend, your Asian friend might take offense to you, you know, wearing and when I say Asian, I mean South Asian, or in this case, Indian. We'll go there. Might take offense to you, you know, wearing a bindi. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it is Coachella, you know, like they might just not be really with that because it's something that is culturally specific for them, and they feel like you're just wearing it for fun, and it might not be that for their culture. And so you can't be like, oh man, come on, it's Coachella, you know, grab a drink and have some fun. That is super dismissive and disrespectful. And obviously that person, you don't respect that person on that level, right? Be cool with and passive about allowing you the freedom to do that is like, it's just not cool. I don't even know how else to say that. It just seems like really not cool.
Well, and at the very least, I feel like it's an opportunity. Like if I'm that person, who a friend of mine told me that there was something that I was doing as it relates to their culture that made them feel uncomfortable. That's an opportunity for me to learn some stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that some people don't know because they don't have to know. You know, there's nothing in the way that if you, and I think that this just happens to be the case when you are closer to proximity and power based on whatever your social construct is. You don't really have to know things that offend, hurt, disadvantage all of these other people unless it somehow impacts you, right? So interest conversion, right? So like I don't have to do anything unless it really, so for example, if I am part of dominant culture and everybody who isn't part of dominant culture, let's say you're part of minority culture, these are the ways in which this society is built around this dominant culture. This is the way we do things. This is what we like. This is what we don't like. This is, and you have, and as a minority, you have to know the themes in dominant culture that they like and don't like, right? You are going to know how to wear your hair. You have to navigate the dominant culture. You have to navigate. You have to know how to wear your hair, what to dress, what to say, what not to say, what pitch of voice you need to have. How do you talk? How do you walk? What, you have to know all of these things in order to be able to get access to opportunity and navigate in certain spaces. But if I'm at this level, to know what a if I'm if I'm Donald Trump, right? I don't necessarily have to know what a Black transgender woman on welfare, what her lived experiences are in order for me to live at this level, right? This person who is at the lower end of a social stratification in race, in gender, possibly in sexual orientation, in income. So it's just one of those things where that young man didn't necessarily have to know, but he was in college. He has Black friends. He's in a situation where he could have been, he could become enlightened. And we're back to talking about Reggie's ordeal again. See, so for
it was really the pivotal moment in the show.
For everyone who hasn't seen it, that's the moment where shit gets really real.
Yeah, and a lot of things come full circle in that moment where it's like you're coming to a lot of realizations, and each character is coming to a lot of different realizations, because even the journalist wants to write about these things. He wants to talk about these things. He wants to share his perspective and give these people a voice. And because it's not news, it's more of an opinion, he keeps getting shot down about revealing this stuff. And so he takes it into his own hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he gets brave. Picks some balls up and he takes his butt on over to that town hall. And he puts on.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Troy's girlfriend,
Coco.
And Sam. Yep, Coco. I wanted to talk a little bit about Coco because I actually know a real life Coco. Went to college with a Coco.
So set the scene for Coco for people who haven't seen Dear White People. Give us who Coco is.
Coco is a beautiful, dark-skinned Black woman who grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. Correction. Let me scratch that. Coco is a beautiful, dark-skinned Black woman who grew up initially in the hood, was taken under the wing of a philanthropic white man, and then thrust into a predominantly white school setting, where she encountered what it would be like to, live the high life and not have to go back to, I think it was Inglewood or Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was determined from a very early point in her life to maintain a proximity to whiteness through her Blackness.
I think also through her beauty and through her education.
Mm-hmm. She wanted to be an exception, right? Like she wanted to be the come up story, and the fact that you can make it out the hood, and it's not about your circumstances, it's about your mindset. Bootstraps mindset, right? The bootstraps concept.
Pull yourself up by your stilettos.
Yeah, she that was more important to her than, or that was her path to being a positive impact on the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Versus rocking the boat, which she felt Sam was doing, like just making a lot of noise and kind of like hindering the progress. And it really she stifled herself in a lot of ways, I felt, especially when it came to her physical appearance. Like, she didn't want to wear her natural hair, which ended up being absolutely stunning. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
It's like half of this wash and go is sickening. This beats the heck out of what the hell you was doing with your edges a moment ago. But you know, straighten your edges, trying to you know, bring your forehead back 4 centimeters. But she you know, got herself a weave freshman year. She was determined to bag her one of these, you know, Ivy League boys who was, you know, who came from money, and get herself into the, you know, world of politics or just something successful. She wanted to be, you know, married to success and money so that she could, you know, be like, have her come up. And it wasn't necessarily like, it was a combination of opportunism and, you know, her inherent skills, because she was a smart girl. She was, you know, she had a lot going for her.
Smart and ambitious.
Beautiful.
Yeah, smart, beautiful, and ambitious. It
was just like, I felt like she was willing to sacrifice her pride in a lot of ways, and sacrifice her image too, because I felt like she was really insecure. And she resented Sam on several levels. One, the fact that Sam was biracial, which equaled that she, in this case, that she was light skinned with colored eyes, and you know, all the boys were checking for her, and good hair, and all the boys were checking for her, and kind of, you know, Coco had to put in more effort to be noticed. So that was one way that she resented Sam. And then she resented Sam because she felt that because she was light skinned and you know, had a certain level of privilege in that she could get away with being more woke than her, and being more angry than she was.
Yes, because that's a real thing. That is a real thing. See, this is why I love this show. This is why I love your white people. Because it didn't just talk about white privilege. It talked about Black people with light skin privilege. And how you can get away with being more woke. Because, I mean, and there's so many aspects to it. Like, Coco isn't completely wrong.
No, she's not.
Right. There's currency that comes along with lighter complexions and that proximity to whiteness. There's currency that comes along with being beautiful, with being what is considered traditionally beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of times especially
when you think about what happened in recent years with people like Jesse Williams giving their speech, and Beyonce doing these performances that are very, you know, pro-Black and things like that, and being able to get away with that kind of stuff because of A, how you relate to the general public, and B, you know, your proximity to whiteness.
Even some of our most like militant activists, like Malcolm X, was a very like
Angela Davis.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's always the light skin was that we. so and this is not a colorism battle, but one of the things that I appreciate about it is that it highlights these aspects within communities of color where there's still this social stratification. And I appreciate Coco's character for pointing that out and like making her face that, yeah, you have light skin privilege. Like, let's just be real about it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to feel bad about it. Leverage it and do something good with it. Right? Turn your privilege into power and access for other people. But first of all, just recognize that you're able to do all of this super Black stuff. Yeah. Right? Because they're not going to want to hear, you know, she probably felt like they're not going to want to hear from, Coco probably felt like they're not going to want to hear from her because she like super mad dark. Right?
They are, and already threatening in that.
Just right. In that. Already threatening in her dark.
You only imagine if she embodied who Sam was in this film and tried to, you know, do what she was doing.
Yeah, she would be angry Black woman.
So she had to come off as non-threatening. She had to come off as doting. She had to come off as, you know, completely approachable.
Right. And you also know that
she couldn't necessarily bust out that wash and go at the function.
Bam.
Even though she did at the end of the show, and that was really awesome. God, her hair was beautiful. But anyway, she was just flat out.
I think that there are ways in which that Sam even performed Blackness. Right, like in her whole thing of how she changed up her hair, like you ain't never see her with her hair pressed. I think that was intentional because she was, not that she wasn't authentically Black, but it was also something that she was trying to perform in some of the same ways that Coco was trying to perform or was performing whiteness. They were both like compensating, I guess you could say, in some ways where, Sammy's
sure.
like, I'm light skinned, so I'm going to be wearing my hair like supernatural. And, Coco's like, I'm mad dark skinned, so I'm going to be like, pressing this stuff and I don't want nobody to see my beady beads. And how
Absolutely
she was hiding under the covers when her wig came off.
When her wig fell off. Listen, my hair has fallen off during an intimate moment, and I just want to let y'all know that I did not duck anywhere.
Need to be wearing no hair, doing no intimate.
I threw that to the side, and we just kept it pushing because they don't care. Okay. I'll say that right now. Right. Don't nobody care in the heat of the moment. But she was, definitely felt like that was a beauty crutch for her.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't understand why you didn't have it glued down if that's the case, sis. I just want to pause real quick
and
be like, listen, girl, you need to bust out that got to be glued real quick right on this hairline right here. Just bring it forward a little bit so you don't lose the edges.
Right. Or get a chin
and get yourself a wig band. And don't they have a little wig band with some clips? Like, come on, sis. I don't even wear wigs and I know this. That was just, you weren't really you didn't have yourself together.
Right. But another thing I appreciate about Coco, I loved her ambition. I love that she was like, so like, she would have been President Fairbanks's ideal daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because she would have did all of that stuff like naturally, normally.
She would have kept him together.
Okay. She would have took care of business.
Yeah.
Now it will be interesting to see what happens with Troy. Like,
I feel like they're gonna get back together.
Yeah,
I think so.
Why not? Why not?
I feel like them two are gonna end up together. Out of everybody on the show, I feel like them two are gonna end up together, and I feel like Reggie and old girl are gonna end up together. Sam's other friend. I think she had braids. I really like them two together.
Me too. And why I love like Reggie's like Gumby.
I love Reggie's Gumby. Yes. Reggie's fine. Okay, you like Troy. I like Reggie.
Yeah, this is true.
Something about the shape of his lips just turns me on.
Something about everything. Something about the
and beautiful teeth. Oh gosh.
Yes.
I'm a married woman. Let me calm myself down before he come in here and be like, "Excuse me."
Right. So let's go ahead and get like closer to nearing wrapping up. What are some general takeaways that you could say that you got from the show, or if like people who haven't watched it, or like what would you tell somebody on the street if they ask you, tell me what's up with this Dear White People show?
I would say, Dear White People, the series is a really great sort of pop culture marker for where we are right now. And I think that it's a great conversation starter. I think it gives some really great perspective to people who feel like they can't really see beyond themselves. I think it allows people to, especially when you don't have any interaction with Black people, for example, it allows you to see Black people in a more complete form. Like, millennials throughout the spectrum, because I think we're on the end of it. I don't know how old you are, but I think I'm on the tail end of the millennial generation, and it gives you a full scope of who we are, because we have been like, I think we're one of the first generations that is incredibly free to be multifaceted, but the stereotypes haven't caught up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those who still harbor those and hold on to those to give them like the definition of who we are, I think that this show would be a great like peephole into how it really is for millennials and young Black millennials, and how they really are, and what they think and feel, and what they have to say, and their perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would give an opportunity for like older people or people who are outside of that to really kind of get it, or at least come close to understanding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also let everyone know where they would be able to reach you, connect with you, follow you.
Okay, so I am Vicky J. It's spelled VIKEEJEAH. And that is me everywhere. We're talking YouTube, we're talking Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Google. Just Google Vicky J, and like I'm literally that whole first page, you guys. And so
I'm literally
Google
like,
myself, but the majority of the time you can find me on Facebook and YouTube. So I do have a fan page. You can go ahead and like me there. I do a lot of beauty videos. That's really my focus, but I am a part-time social justice warrior. So do check out the Woke Squad on Facebook at the Woke Squad Pod. Pardon me, Facebook.com/Woke Squad, and then on Twitter as the Woke Squad Pod. We are also on YouTube as the Woke Squad, so do check us out there. Seasons 1 through 3 are live, and we have playlists for you to check out. One of the funniest episodes we have ever done is the racial draft. And so I really encourage you to check it out. I had some choice words for Stacey Dash on that one.
I'm sure. I am sure. So thank you everyone who joined us live, who followed us over from Facebook or from Smile Time. We were having a little bit of challenges, but we got through the show. Again, this has been The Counter Narrative. We have reviewed Dear White People, the Netflix series. We really didn't get, as much into the show as we could have. Like literally each episode spends a lot of time. It's about 10, 30-minute episodes, and they look at a set period of time, a set of events from different perspectives before they move forward. And a lot of times we don't necessarily get that. We get a story from one perspective, but this one not only gives us this is what happened from all of these different vantage points, but it also gives us some background into each one of these different characters to see how they are complex and multi-layered and multifaceted, and they're not tropes, and they're not demonized, they're not hyper masculine, they're not hyper or mischaracterized, I should say. They're not caricatures. So that's one.
Shout out to Justin for that, though.
Say that again.
And the director,
the
creator of it. Yeah, because this is some great work.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So if you have not watched that Netflix series, go check it out. You want to get up with me, I am S. Rasheem everywhere, S.Rasheem or S. Rasheem. If you want to watch some of the videos, earlier videos, later videos, go ahead and check out the channel. It's S.Rasheem. And you can also visit thecounternarrativeshow.com. Until next time, continue to tell your counter narrative.